The media isn't going to talk about the side effects and the excess deaths because they are saving it for 2024. They're going to lay the blame on Trump. Lay the blame on Trump. Sebastian.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Rumble side. Good to see you all here. All right, let's take a look at what we got in the Super Chat or Rumble Rant queue over here. Misha's got these queued up. Looks like Azza says, are we collectively pretending Ben Shapiro is not an Israeli asset like Epstein himself, or just the hosts tonight? Did you dissidents ever have Whitney Webb on, or did you just bust yourselves out? In any case, you managed to definitely avoid her for a long time. No, we interviewed her on this show, actually. We never interviewed her on our show. But we interviewed her here.
I mean, look, I know this would come as a big surprise to a lot of people, but we're not that big a channel, and we can't just decide who we want to come on the show.
We can't just go grab somebody, yeah. Yeah, but we interviewed Whitney when she was here.
Yes, we did.
The judge, thanks for the $5. Trump is showing cognitive decline. The memo was fake, and Trump responded the worst way possible. Time for the 25th Amendment. There you go. All right. That looks like we are up to date for now. Looks like, right? Yep, there we go. All right, cool. All righty, folks. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. Everybody, Keaton and Russ from Do Dissidents here for Jimmy while he is on the road this week. All right, folks. So I want to reintroduce some of you to a new congressman, one of the newest members of Congress, actually, Randy Fine. Randy Fine. Here's America First patriot Randy Fine demanding Americans who distribute flyers critical of Israel get 5 years in jail for hateful littering. That's right. Let's take a listen.
People accountable without, violating their free speech.
Sure. And again, I would remind you that there's no First Amendment right to conduct. There's a First Amendment right to speech, and the things that we're targeting in the bill are not speech. Again, if someone wants to stand across the street from my house and wave the sign on the sidewalk, they have every right to do that, and this bill won't have anything to do with that. But when it veers into conduct, and so the way we're going to approach this is through a hate crime kicker. So if you graffiti a building, it is a crime now. But if your motivation is hate, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in prison. If you want to litter...
Very woke. Very woke, sounds like. He says if you want to litter...
It will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in prison. If you want to
littering?
It's a crime right now. But if you litter and your motivation is a hate crime, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in jail.
Okay, first of all, litter is almost never a crime. It's almost always a civil offense.
That's not true. You've seen Birth of a Nation. It opens with the Klan littering.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Littering is almost always a civil offense, punishable by a fine, unless you're dumping like toxic waste or like massive amounts of shit. Now, in fairness, this guy does look like he generates a lot of garbage. So maybe for him, littering would be a crime.
Garbage and anti-Semitism.
Yeah, of the sheer quantity.
There's like an airborne virus of anti-Semitism in the form of a man.
Yes.
It's a crime right now to hang banners from an interstate. For obvious reasons, we don't want to distract drivers. But if you do that and you have a hate crime, a hate motivation, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in jail.
How optimistic are you of moving this bill along?
I guarantee the bill will pass. And I never do that.
I never do that. Yeah, there you go. There you go. 5 years for hateful littering. So what? I drop a piece of pastrami on the sidewalk? That's 5 years in jail. Was that hateful littering? I don't know.
I mean, for a Knish, you get 7.
For a Knish, you get 7, yeah. The mandatory minimum. So Dan Cohen points out Randy Fine went to Israel immediately after October 7th and signed a bomb to avenge the burned and beheaded children of Israel. No Israeli children were burned or beheaded, but those bombs were used to exterminate Palestinian children. Randy Fine is a genocidal Zionist. Yeah, of course. Khaleesi, and he was not in Congress at that time. He was a Florida politician, but he was actually elected. I believe he filled Mike Waltz's seat. Remember, fat Randy Fine supports bombing Palestinians and American citizens who support Palestine and oppose Israel, which he's referring to here is the murder of American activist Eisenhower Ezgi, U.S. Senator Fine celebrated, he was a state senator, not a U.S. senator at the time, celebrated Eisenhower's death, calling her a Muslim terrorist and accused her of throwing rocks, which is a complete lie. Throw rocks, get shot. One less Muslim terrorist. Fire away, he says. Fire away at an unarmed young woman. Killed,
Wow.
shot by an Israeli sniper. Christopher Johnson, what about the Palestinian rights to defend themselves against the Israelis bullying them and forcing them out of their homes? I didn't agree with what's going on, but they need to respect each other's rights to live. State Representative Randy Fine says blow them up. So see, guys, there's a long, long history of just genocidal language advocating he advocates violence against civilians, including Americans, pretty routinely. And here he is on video. American-Israeli Randy Fine is calling to nuke Gaza on Fox.
The Japanese twice in order to get unconditional surrender. That needs to be the same here. There is something deeply, deeply wrong with this culture, and it needs to be defeated.
We heard in Brooks.
So that is a statement of intent to punish civilians, an entire culture, which he deems irredeemable, and therefore collective punishment either necessary or at the very least excusable.
All right, I'm sorry. People like Randy Fine, they like to hide behind the ugly history of calling Japanese people or Italian people or German people in World War II who had emigrated to the United States in good faith and left their native countries behind and dedicated themselves to the American project as having dual loyalty. And of course, we had the internment camps in World War II, most famously in California with the Japanese. They use our shame at that to deflect from accusations of dual loyalty because of the ugly history that accusation has. What else do you call somebody who literally has dual citizenship with Israel, who almost exclusively advocates for the interests of Israel, regardless of whether those interests conflict with the traditions of freedom of expression, debate, and protest of the nation that you're supposed to be representing? How is that not dual loyalty? What else is it? What else would you call that?
Right. Why else would you be gloating about the killing of an American activist?
Of an American, right. Yeah. Which country are you loyal to? Obviously not this one.
Of course. Palestinian equals Hamas bombs away, kill them all, he says, no mercy. He says there is no suffering adequate for these animals. May the streets of Gaza overflow with blood. Obviously, just blatantly, openly genocidal language from Randy Fine. And so, friend of the show here, Max Blumenthal, caught up with him and asked him about this. I asked Representative Randy Fine about his repulsive genocidal rhetoric and how long he'd last as an obvious glutton under the starvation conditions he supports in Gaza. Known for his aggressive tweets, Representative Fine waddled away from me in real life and hid behind his staffers. Yeah, not such a tough guy here.
Fine, Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone. You've been Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone. You've been a big supporter of killing civilians in Gaza. I was wondering, how long do you think you would last under the starvation conditions that Israel's imposed in Gaza? Like, have you ever put yourself in the shoes of the people of Gaza who are starving?
I don't believe in those who believe that they should keep hostages. If Gaza wants the war to end, they should let the hostages go. You take hostages, you get what's coming.
Do you think you're encouraging anti-Semitism by these kinds of comments, supporting the killing of children, supporting nuking Gaza?
Over here in this corner. Sir, he has another interview right now.
Why? I mean, why can't he do an adversarial interview?
He can do an
adversarial. I thought you were the Hebrew hammer.
I don't talk to idiots.
You seem more like the Hebrew scammer.
I think we're
why can't he do an adversarial interview?
He can do an
I thought you were the Hebrew hammer. You seem more like the Hebrew scammer.
there you have it. So this is a press event, is what they do at these press junkets. Each outlet has their own kind of like booth set up, and you go from one to the other, and you do, however many. If you're like promoting a movie, you do 30 of these in a day for 5 minutes each. And, Max is a credentialed journalist. I assume that's how he got in the room to begin with, but he couldn't get an interview. Couldn't get an interview with the Hebrew Hammer, as he's called. Big, tough guy, ran away. So good job by Max there. You could see a whole lot of bark there from Randy Fine. Talks very tough when he's tweeting about how many Palestinian kids it's okay to blow up and how many American peace activists it's okay to shoot, but wasn't up for an interview with Max Blumenthal. But good on him for chasing him down. I messaged Max yesterday. I had a couple of one-liners. I said, "Hey, it would have been good if you said this." And he messaged me back. He says, "Yeah, there were a bunch of one-liners that I thought of when it was too late." It's like he said it was like George Costanza in the Jerk Store. I thought of that. Like it just got away from me. But well done.
That's how it goes in those situations.
Yeah. That's how it goes in there. Yeah, no, it is like when you have to interview somebody. It's tough to just draw
especially
a blank.
hostile like that. Yeah.
Especially hostile like that when you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But, yep, nice work by Max Blumenthal of the Gray Zone there. So special shout out as always. All right. Do you have any chats there or rants you want to read?
All right. Let's see. Where are we? Your last is that stack of what, 4?
Yeah. My last was the stack of... was the
right with Pam Bondi's on top there?
Judge 51, I think. Yeah. Yeah, no, the stack of 4 is that's where you pick up. You pick up.
Got it. All right. Nocturnal Human. Why haven't you interviewed Vladimir Putin yet? Unacceptable. Yes, exactly. Sound Chaser 78. Seems pretty obvious that they would say anything until the big beautiful bill was passed. Now all bets are off and they don't give a shit. Trump doesn't need anyone's support now. Yep. Well, I mean, he thinks he doesn't, but he does. Sparky 63. Speaking of guests, due dissidents is probably avoiding with deaf skill. Have you had on Brian Berletic on yet? Listen, man, I really like people seem to think we can just get people. I like stalked Brian Berletic and he totally ignored us. I went after him on Facebook. We had other people on Facebook reach out to him and say, "We really want you on the show." We DM'd him on X. Yeah, he knows.
He's an anti-Semite.
He's an anti-Semite. Everybody knows that. Of course, you guys know I'm just yanking your chain, don't you? Well, I figured from you, yeah.
We figured. I was going to say, Sparky, why don't you be our agent? Why don't you be our agent and you go get these people for us?
You should. I mean, we've talked about hiring somebody to do that, but it's still like, look, man, I mean, some of them, you never know. Some of them might just not like your act. They might just not like your show for whatever reason. Some of them are just like, it's not enough numbers. Who knows?
Right.
Sound Chaser 78. AIPAC is always hiring for Congress. Yes, they are. All right, we ready?
Yep, ready to go.